welcome everybody to the June 17th, 2025 meeting of the Tompkins County Legislature. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get a roll call of members, please?
Mr. Shurtleff will be late this evening. Mike Sigler.
Here.
Shauna Black.
Here.
Travis Brooks.
Here.
Randy Brown.
Here.
Amanda Champion.
Here.
Deborah Dawson's asked to be excused this evening. Rich John.
Here.
Ann Corman.
Present.
Mike Lane.
Here.
Greg Mezzi.
Here.
Veronica Pillar.
Here.
Dan Klein.
Here.
12 members present.
We have a quorum. Okay, we have two proclamations tonight, and for the first one, we are going to start with Shauna Black.
Thank you, Dan. We have a proclamation tonight to recognize and celebrate Pride Month here in Tompkins County. So I'll start the proclamation. Whereas Tompkins County stands in solidarity with the two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and additional gender-diverse community, celebrating their strength, authenticity, and love in all its forms. And whereas Pride Month was first recognized at the federal level in 1999 by President Bill Clinton, and that recognition has continued through subsequent administrations, including that of President Joe Biden Jr., as a celebration of the ongoing struggle and contributions of two LGBTQI+ people. And whereas Tompkins County has long been a leader in advancing civil rights, having passed one of the first local laws in New York State, Local Law Number 6 of 1991, amended in 2004 as Local Law Number 1 or Local Law C, explicitly protecting individuals from discrimination on the basis of gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation. And whereas the landmark legal action known as the Ithaca 50 in 2004, in which 25 same-sex couples challenged the state of New York's ban on same-sex marriage, stands as a powerful testament to Tompkins County's unwavering commitment to marriage equality and the broader fight for 2SLGBTQI+ rights. And whereas, despite significant progress, the 2SLGBTQI+ community continues to face increasing hostility. In 2024 alone, hundreds of anti-LGBTQ+ bills were introduced across the country targeting access to healthcare, education, and public expression. Transgender youth and their families remain under attack, and hate speech, threats, and violence have escalated against drag performers, medical providers, and community spaces. And I'll pass it on to Greg Mezzi.
Whereas Tompkins County remains steadfast in our values of equity, justice, and inclusion. Our mission includes fostering a workplace and community that actively dismantles systems of oppression, builds trust, and ensures dignity, belonging, and opportunity for all. And whereas Pride Month 2025 is being celebrated locally with a diverse array of events, including educational programming, marches, performances, readings, workshops, film screenings, and community gatherings, each affirming the beauty, resilience, and joy of the 2SLGBTQI+ community. And I'm going to pass it off to Ann Corman.
Thanks, Greg. Whereas members of the 2SLGBTQI+ community continue to make invaluable contributions to our society, serving at every level of leadership, including right here, including right here in Tompkins County. That was good that somebody put that in. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Tompkins County Legislature does hereby proclaim the month of June 2025 as 2SLGBTQI+ Pride Month in Tompkins County, and I'll pass it off to Legislator Pillar.
And if you haven't noticed, it is the members of the 2SLGBTQI+ community that are also legislators that are reading this. Resolved further that the Tompkins County Legislature directs that the pride/rainbow flags shall be flown on county flagpoles throughout the month as a visible expression of our commitment to equality, dignity, and inclusion for all. Resolved further that the Tompkins County Legislature encourages all residents to honor and uplift the voices, stories, and contributions of our 2SLGBTQI+ neighbors. and to join in the collective work of eliminating prejudice, discrimination, and hate wherever they arise.
I believe we have some people here to receive the proclamation. Is that correct?
Yes, we've got Andrew Sheldorf, Chair of the Ithaca Pride Alliance.
Andrew, come on up. And any and all of the people that read, if they would like to present, that would be great.
Present the award? Sure.
I'll let you guys take that and hand that to me. Yeah. Okay.
This is usually where the photo shoot happens. Thank you.
Congratulations.
And Andrew, is that your name?
You want to say a little bit?
If you would like to say something, anything you'd like.
About 4 inches.
Okay. Yeah, thank you to the Tompkins County Legislature and everyone in this room gathered here today. We celebrated our Pride Festival this last weekend right downstairs and in the park at DeWitt Park with kind of record turnout. It's only the second year of the festival being planned by the Ithaca Pride Alliance, but we have already estimated that there was over 2,000 people throughout the festival events on Sunday and over 800, 500-ish or more on Sunday. We're waiting for some attendance results, but it means a lot that Tompkins County and Ithaca is so incredibly supportive of the queer community in this area and has plenty of historic firsts and lots of representation. I do want to take a moment just to emphasize that the Ithaca Pride Alliance is completely volunteer, and while Tompkins County and Ithaca has a lot of support and a lot of inclusivity built into things, we still don't have a physical location or any sort of permanent center for the queer community here in this area, and that is something actively that IPA is looking to address, but obviously it is a challenge. But I'm super excited to be here and celebrating Pride Month with everyone here as well as the larger Tompkins County, so thank you.
Thank you. We have Rich.
Yeah, I did have a question about the second whereas, and it's hard to keep track of things happening on the national level because there's so much, but did the current administration not recognize Pride Month?
We did not.
Did New York State?
Yeah, they did. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a second proclamation tonight, which is going to be read by Veronica Pillar.
Thank you. Sometimes we read just excerpts of the proclamation, but so many people came just for this that I'm going to read the whole thing unless anyone yells about it. Whereas slavery was brought to North America in 1619 with the arrival of the first enslaved Africans to a colony in Virginia, marking the beginning of centuries of systemic oppression and dehumanization. And although President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation effective January 1, 1863, it was not until June 19, 1865, more than 2 years later, that enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas were informed of their freedom, a date now commemorated as Juneteenth. And whereas Juneteenth stands as a powerful symbol of African American perseverance, representing the struggles, sacrifices, and unyielding spirit of those who resisted bondage, survived the horrors of slavery, and fought for liberation, dignity, and full citizenship. And whereas Tompkins County is home to a rich legacy of African American history and resistance, including the enlistment of 26 African American men who joined the Union Army between December 1863 and February 1864 at St. James AME Zion Church, the oldest standing church in Ithaca and among the nation's first African Methodist Episcopal Zion congregations, a site that continues to represent faith, activism, and community. And whereas the the legacy of African American activism is deeply woven into the civil rights movement of the 20th century and continues today through local leaders, educators, and advocates in Tompkins County who challenge racial injustice and push for transformative change in housing, healthcare, policing, education, and access to opportunity. And whereas African Americans have enriched the fields of science, medicine, literature, music, arts, and public service, prominent figures include Dr. Dorothy Cotton, civil rights leader and longtime Ithaca resident, whose work with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference helped elevate the voices of Black Americans across the nation, and contemporary leaders in Tompkins County who continue to guide public institutions, civic initiatives, and grassroots organizations. And whereas Juneteenth is not only a commemoration of emancipation, but a celebration of African American excellence, evident in the thriving Black-owned businesses in Tompkins County, the contributions of Black educators and students in local schools and colleges, and the cultural richness shared through art, food, scholarship, and public service. And whereas the continued observance of Juneteenth reminds us that the path to equity and justice remains unfinished. African Americans still face disparities in income, housing access, healthcare outcomes, and representation in leadership. By naming and addressing these disparities, we reaffirm our county's commitment to racial justice and the promise of liberty for all. And whereas the Southside Community Center continues its longstanding tradition of honoring Juneteenth through its annual festival block party, which was awesome, fostering intergenerational learning, cultural celebration, and community unity. And whereas in 2025, I think that was supposed to be skipped out. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tompkins County Legislature does hereby proclaim, recognize, and designate June 19, 2025 as Juneteenth in Tompkins County, and honors the enduring strength, culture, and contributions of African Americans who have fought for freedom, justice, and equality in our county and beyond. Resolved further that the Tompkins County Legislature encourages all residents to reflect on the legacy of slavery and racial injustice, to celebrate the achievements and culture of African Americans, and to actively engage in building a community rooted in equity, dignity, and mutual respect.
We have some people from Southside Community Center to receive the proclamation. Veronica, do you feel like presenting? Package. Thank you.
We gotta get the proclamation first, buddy.
I know. What the? I don't know if it works. Good evening. My name is Sebastian Cox. I am in 5th grade at Southside Community Center. On behalf of all of us at Southside, thank you for recognizing Juneteenth and presenting this proclamation to community. Juneteenth. It is important to celebrate our freedom, history, and Black joy, and it means a lot to us of our county honors it with us. We're proud to be a part of this tradition, and thank you for supporting our center and our future. Happy Juneteenth.
Hold it in the front. I'm gonna hold it. Hold this to Thomas in the front. Face this way.
Very good. We will be having 2 executive sessions tonight, and I will announce the purpose of those later on. And then as far as reordering of business, I would like to propose a few. First of all, right after this, I would like to do Resolution J next. And then after municipal officials' privilege of the floor, I would like to move the TC3 presentation and follow up with the resolution setting the public hearing. Are those changes okay to the members of the body? Thank you. And are there any other requested changes? Okay, thank you. Then let us move to Resolution J, which is located in your red folders, and I call on Shauna Black.
Thank you, Dan. It is my extreme pleasure to move Resolution J, ID 13361. And if I could say a few words.
Please.
I was part of the...
I'm sorry, we do need a second. Okay. Amanda seconds, thanks.
I was part of the interview committee for the Commissioner of Whole Health, and we had many qualified candidates, and we did a very thorough process. It did take quite a while. Some legislators in the room were part of that process, and I can say without a shadow of the doubt that we chose an incredible candidate, and I'm very proud to announce our next Commissioner of Whole Health, assuming that this passes with this legislature. She has experience with the City of New York Health Department. The one thing that was very clear during her speech to us was that she has a real vision for our department, and her focus on health equity was something that I think is going to be really important for our community. So without further ado, I would like to announce Jenny Sutcliffe as our Commissioner of Whole Health, assuming we pass this resolution.
Any further discussion? And if there's any details of employment that we would need to go into executive session for, now would be the time to speak up.
No, let's vote.
I would like to request that we add after Board of Health in the resolution and the Community Mental Health Services Board.
Is that amendment friendly to everybody?
Can you say that again?
I would, after, following Board of Health and Community Mental Health Services Board. Or Community Services Board, I think it's reflected on the website.
Good. That is incorporated. Any further discussion before we vote? Okay, then, all in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Jenny, welcome. Please come up and say whatever you would like.
There we go. First, I'd really like to thank you all so much. It was really a wonderful interview process, and I have already felt such a warm welcome. So I am really grateful for all of you who are a part of that and for making me so excited about this role. I grew up in Tompkins County. I grew up in Trumansburg, and so although I moved back to the area a couple of years ago, my work has remained elsewhere, and so I'm really thrilled to be able to work in my own community again, and this feels like a real homecoming. The second thing I wanted to do, just since it seems like a nice opportunity and I have you all, and I know this doesn't happen all the time, I wanted to just sort of highlight the top 3 things that I'm coming into as a new department chair as a priority that I have for Whole Health. The first is really focusing on building trust, and I mean that both for myself, with my staff and my team, also with you all, working to sort of develop relationships so that we can be allies as we problem solve on things together, but also with the Whole Health and the community. You know, I understand that this is a time where being in government isn't the same as it used to be, and we really need to do a really good job and continue to do a good job of demonstrating our value and what we bring to our community, both here in Ithaca and Tompkins County as a whole. The second one is what I've sort of been calling meeting the political moment. And I think looking at and thinking about how we need to be playing defense to really defend the work that we're doing and prove why it is important, but also to play offense. And it feels a little bit silly to think that it's important to be forward-looking right now, but if there are systems that are dismantled and if we lose funding and programs have to stop, someday we will have the chance to rebuild those again, and we don't want to be caught flat-footed when that happens. So I think it's important to be thinking defensively, but also a little bit offensively in this moment as well. And then the third one is really supporting a resilient workforce. There is no Whole Health without the staff that are at Whole Health. And so thinking through and understanding what their needs are, that's one of my priorities, how they can be supported, and really how we can help staff feel appropriately challenged and fulfilled in their day-to-day. And so I just wanted to take a moment to kind of lay those things out for you all as I see you all as future allies in this work, as we kind of go into this role and lead this department and continue to really emphasize the merger between sort of the mental health and the public health sides in the next year. So thank you all so much, and I really look forward to working with you all.
Jenny Sutcliffe will start as the Commissioner of Whole Health on July 7th. Until then, we will continue with our interim director, Jeremy Porter, who's been doing a great job for us. We want to thank him too for all the months he's put in, keeping everything going. All right, we are now up to privilege of the floor for the public. This is a chance for the public to speak for up to 3 minutes and tell us and speak about whatever they would want. If there's anybody that wants to speak to us today, please go to the back of the room, grab one of these blue forms, fill it out, bring it up to us, and we will get you in the queue. If you're speaking tonight, you're agreeing to some rules. I'm going to read the rules now. I agree to a 3-minute time limit. I agree not to raise my voice. I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language, or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. After 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislators are speaking. I agree that if I cause a disruption and am asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. First up tonight is Zach Wynn.
Good evening. Suspect in the recent arson fires at Asteria is in custody. A former resident of Jungle 1 who had been given an apartment at the Asteria and had taken to essentially living at the library, spending his days outside the entrance, panhandling on the corner of Cuga and Green with his dog. This legislature often sees conversation about and criticism of the administration in Washington and President Trump. I come before you this evening to ask that you consider issuing a proclamation opposing the involvement of American military forces in the nation of Iran, a conflict recently instigated by Israel under the pretense of preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. This conflict is truly about regime change in Iran, something that cannot be accomplished without America's involvement. The last time the United States toppled Iran's government saw the CIA deposing Iran's democratically elected president Mohammad Mossadegh, leading to the Shah of Iran's dictatorship and eventually the establishment of the current regime after the Islamic Revolution. Things didn't go according to plan then, and it is doubtful they will go according to plan now. The last thing this country needs is another regime change war in the Middle East, with the bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities holding a possibility of raining nuclear fallout on the cradle of civilization. The invasions and bombings of Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Libya serve as examples of how badly American foreign policy can go awry and how easily the public can be deceived into supporting a war. Iran is about to join the legacy of past Middle East conflicts that saw nothing but trillions of dollars wasted and millions of lives lost. Iran is no threat to America. I anticipate that if this conflict continues building at its current pace, it is just a matter of time until this room is full of people asking for an end to the war in Iran. Please consider issuing a statement opposing war with Iran now, when it could actually make a difference. Thank you.
Next up is Diane Cohen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Diane Cohen. I'm the CEO of Finger Lakes Reuse, 40-year resident of Tompkins County. The last 25 years, I've lived in the town of Ulysses. I wanted to speak to a couple things that are on the agenda this evening. First, I wanted to commend Tompkins County for its leadership in waste reduction and for the resolution illuminating deconstruction and building material reuse as a viable strategy for resilient communities. Really grateful to Kat McCarthy for bringing this forward to the Peak Committee and to the members of CROWD, including colleagues from the Christofferson Center for Community Planning, Historic Ithaca, Cornell University's Just Places Lab, and the Circular Construction Lab, who originally developed this template for the non-binding resolution to help advance the case for building materials, reuse, and deconstruction. And thanks to Ann Corman and the Peak Committee for moving this forward today. Secondly, Finger Lakes Reuse is also grateful to be in your agenda for an award of contract for reuse services with Tompkins County's Recycling and Materials Management. We're really grateful to Lee O'Reilly and to Kat McCarthy and all the team there for their work to get us to this point. Our plan to continue to reduce waste through reuse, through collaborative engagement and providing convenient services, building strategies that have been tremendously successful and are continuing to gain momentum. So some of you know we're in the midst of a strategic planning process, and you'll be hearing from us as we are continuing to actively gather feedback over the next few weeks and months. There is a wealth in our waste and lots of opportunity to go along with it. Access to affordable materials, a place for connection, and an engaging way to build career skills. All of these are provided by a community reuse center. So I want to thank each of you for your public service, and we're grateful for your partnership. We look forward to working with Tompkins County and continuing to build a pathway to a more just and healthy economy and environment for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all the speakers that spoke tonight. Those are all the blue cards I have. Okay. Next up is municipal officials' privilege of the floor. I see Pierre St. Perez here from the City of Ithaca Common Council. Welcome, Pierre.
Thank you. As always, good to see you guys. Tomorrow, Common Council is going to have a special meeting. That means that we are going to address voting items. I'm sure everyone in the legislature knows, but I'm told we have some viewers as opposed to our normal committees of the whole. At this meeting, we are going to be providing a resolution giving budget direction to the city administration. The resolution, as it is currently written, would have the city manager present a budget that is below the tax cap, except for insofar as increasing the wages of the lowest paid city employees to a living wage. Additionally, we are going to be moving forward with some minor changes to the city code, eliminating redundancies. And we are going to be doing some slight alterations to the ongoing legislation for community choice aggregation, which has been explained here before. And last but certainly not least, there will be a presentation on our audits. I am very excited, and there have been no spoilers, so I will be learning how this goes with the rest of you. Yep, that's the report.
Questions or comments for Pierre? Randy.
Yes, Pierre, what years will your audits cover?
As I said, there have been no spoilers. This said, I would be astonished if anything more than the 2021 audits are on the table right now. As you know, these things have to be addressed sequentially. You can't really piece together the 2023 audits without having gone through the 2022 ones, and we are working through them as quickly as the city is able.
Thank you.
Pierre, I wanted to ask you what you meant by you said you're going to stay below the tax cap, except. What did that mean?
Well, as is included in the resolution. So the recommended budget needs to be under the tax cap per the resolution, excepting the cost of increasing the wages of city employees who are making less than a living wage.
Does that put you over the tax cap?
You know, I asked that question last meeting. I remain confused by the answer. Okay. I'm going to be honest. My understanding is that it's going to be an approximation of the tax cap in any case, right? We most likely won't have a finalized version of what the tax cap's going to be by the time the city manager is really putting this together. This is an aspirational document, but it is setting a direction. No, that would lean into personal opinion.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Pierre? Rich?
I wanted to thank you for bringing the news about the audit. That really, I agree with you completely. That's big. That's finally seeing some motion. So we'll see where it goes. Please let us know.
Shall do.
Any other? Oh, Greg.
As Ithaca is famously known for its potholes, I was just curious if there's any plan to have Stewart Ave addressed at any point soon. I had a couple of constituents and folks ask about that, and then it came up in a Cornell County meeting. So just curious if you know, and I know I don't know the county's paving plan, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be surprised if you knew the city's paving plan. But has that come up at all, that conversation?
So there have, in fact, been discussions about this. The main issue is that a Stewart Avenue project is extraordinarily expensive, right? patch jobs on Stewart Avenue. We've all driven over them. We all know how they feel. They don't really solve the core problem with Stewart. It's a road that was designed for a time when all traffic was less than what it is now. When we're thinking about fixing Stewart, as I understand it, the city is thinking about a project to fix Stewart, not just patch it up again. And we're hoping for Cornell's involvement and collaboration on that.
Does that mean financial support?
I wouldn't say no.
All right, it might be served if somebody took a look, because I think a lot of people are probably doing a lot of damage that drive that road every day to their vehicle. So patch might be in the best interest until a longer term collaborative effort could be put in place with Cornell and the city. Just my 2.5 cents.
I think it's a very valid position.
Thank you.
Amanda.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but since Greg brought it up, it's not just Stewart. West Hill is a disaster. I come down Elm Street every day, and there are no less than 25 massive holes, dents, and some crew was out there maybe a week ago, and literally it's worse now. And I'm not just saying that, like they did sort of a half-assed, fill a little bit here, fill a little bit there. And 79 is terrible. It's not just Stewart and the east side. I would highly encourage you to put more funding into roads.
So I will say, in our current work plan, potholes are worked on Fridays. We've had a couple rainy Fridays, which has severely impacted pothole management. I'm telling you what it is. It's hard to fill in potholes when it's raining. If we have more dry Fridays, that will lead to better patches.
Thank you.
Shauna.
So I told this story many years ago, but it's a fun time to bring it up now. I remember whenever I was pregnant with our second kid, my wife and I used to go up and down Stewart Avenue in order to induce labor whenever I was like 40 weeks pregnant. And my daughter just turned 17. So, we're still kind of dealing with those issues, And I think you have put over some blacktop over some of the potholes, but it's been an ongoing issue.
I have no memories of Stewart Avenue not feeling like a roller coaster.
I remember as a small child, never mind.
Any other questions or comments for Pierre? Pierre, thank you as usual for joining us.
Of course. Thank you all.
I don't see any other municipal officials in the room. Is that correct? Okay. Then, as I mentioned before, we're going to alter the order of the agenda, and we're going to skip right now to special topical presentation, which is the 2025-2026 Tompkins-Cortland Community College operating budget. We have Amy Kremenick, president of TC3, and your staff, and you can come on up and take any seat, any podium you want. That would be fine. Anywhere where there's a microphone. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here to present the college's 25-26 operating budget. I'd like to start by recognizing a couple of our board members who are in the audience. Roxanne Buck, Tompkins County appointee. Next to her is Sue Dale Hall, also Tompkins County appointee, gubernatorial appointee. And Shelley Michelle Nunn, a Tompkins County appointee. So I'd like to thank 3 members of our Board of Trustees for being here tonight to support us. And to my left is Dennis Panagitis. He is the college's Chief Financial Officer. So we're going to start. I do also want to recognize the member of the Finance Committee for sitting through this presentation again. We were here earlier this week, or last week, to present this presentation and would like to share this information with you as well, and we appreciate the support of the Finance Committee. So to start out, we always start with enrollment. As I say, so goes enrollment, so goes the college, and vice versa. I'm very pleased to report to all of you that we are seeing extraordinary growth in enrollment, particularly for fall. Currently, we are up 28%, which is extraordinary. I've worked in community colleges for over 20 years. I have never seen numbers like this at any college I have worked at. And that's a result of both the support that we receive from our community, from this body, as well as a lot of work that's been done internally. We do have a strategic enrollment management plan. We've had one in place for the last couple of years, but there's so many elements of this plan that are really coming together now. We have redesigned our enrollment process. This is really important for our students because, as I say, I want to be sure that the hard work they're doing is the work in the classrooms, not the work getting through our processes. So we've done everything we can to try and simplify them, make them efficient, make them clear, as much as we have under our control. Sometimes these policies are driven by the federal government or by the state government, but those that we have control over, we try to make them as simple as possible. We've recently redesigned the Panther Welcome Center, so if you've been to our campus, you know we have an enrollment center as you come in the front door. That has been completely redesigned as a one-stop model. So the idea is that as students are coming in the door, that at that front desk they can get as many questions answered as they possibly can, and then if there are specialized details that they need, then we can triage from there, but trying to eliminate the numbers of stops that students have to go through to enroll. We've been fortunate. We've invested in the strategic use of data and technology. It's amazing what technology can do these days, and we know how to run it now. So we have been able to incorporate personalized communications for students that really tell them where they are in the process, which has made an enormous difference for busy students. We have proactive territorial management. What that means is that we are in nearly every community organization across the region, as well as prioritizing our local high schools. And then finally, the SUNY Reconnect program you may have heard about, which is the free community college program for adults, ages 25 to 55 in 9 high-demand fields. We are seeing an extraordinary amount of interest in this program from adults across both counties. The next graph is a graph of our enrollment that shows you over the last couple of years. There it is. The last couple of years where we've been, you can see that the decline, while the pandemic certainly exacerbated it, the decline was in place even before then. The bad news about this slide is what you're not seeing is the 28% number for fall 2025. So providing that holds, and we are still about 2.5 months away from the start of the semester, you will see a dramatic increase in our core enrollment for fall 2025, both in full and part-time students. It's really across the board. Legislators are always interested in where our students are coming from. So on the next slide is our enrollment by region. We have about 55% of our core students. These are those who are not enrolled in high school. These are students that are either coming to the college or are enrolled online. But about 55% of them are from one of our 2 sponsoring counties, either this one or Cortland. And then about another quarter are from the Donut County. So these are the contiguous counties to both Tompkins and Cortland. So all told, the vast majority of our students are coming from our region. And while we do have students from other parts of the state, in some cases other parts of the world, the vast majority of our students are local. Academic program mix has been a real priority of ours. We have over 40 programs, which is a lot for a small institution. So we are taking a look at them across the board by taking a look at what programs do we need to best really meet the job needs and the employment needs of this region, whether it's for those going direct to work or those who are transferring. We have a brand new program feasibility process that our board has approved in recent months, and a new Associate of Science transfer program in the health sciences, which is designed to transfer to SUNY Upstate in their bachelor's completion programs in 6 areas of health professions, things like radiology technician, respiratory therapy, these things that we know hospitals and health providers in this region need. We have some new transfer agreements that are listed there with Cornell, and then looking a little further flung, Hobart Williams Smith and Syracuse University. We have recently, and the board voted to deactivate our culinary arts program recently. What deactivation means is that it gives us a chance to pause enrollment in the program in its current iteration, take a look at it, and make sure that students who are completing that program, the jobs that they are taking are jobs that require the associate degree. We want to be certain that the time and the money that students are investing in degrees are leading to jobs that require that credential so that they're better off as a result of being with us. So we'll be working on that, and then in October, those recommendations are due. We have recently discontinued the General Studies Certificate, which is a program that not very many students were taking advantage of, primarily because it was made up of a lot of electives, there wasn't a lot of requirement, and it really didn't have a specific purpose. So we've been doing some cleanup as well. And then just looking to workforce, this is what I call the alphabet soup of this slide here. Areas that I know are really important to this community and important to this legislature. The Certified Nurse Assistant Program is a 3-week workforce development program designed for students to go to work in nursing homes and healthcare facilities, work as home health aides, really take care of our most vulnerable citizens. Pre-apprenticeship training, we are very active in this space with SUNY, using these dollars, working with local employers for incumbent employees. We have a direct-to-work advanced manufacturing partnership with which we work with IED, the Ithaca Area Economic Development. CDL is going to be starting on our campus in July, so you may see big rigs on our campus for people who are learning how to become truck drivers. And then I know another area that's really important to both counties is emergency medical technician, or EMT. We are partnered with SUNY Upstate, sister institution, and they will be offering their EMT program on our campus in the fall, and then in the spring they'll be at Ithaca Mall, with the idea trying to serve more people in close proximity. So I'm going to turn it over to Dennis to also now walk you through our budget, revenue, and expenses.
Good evening from me too. I'm going to start with the revenue analysis of our 2025-26 year budget. As I have mentioned before in this legislature, the New York State education law states that community colleges should be funded 1/3 by the state, 1/3 by the students, and 1/3 by the sponsor counties, along with other county income. As you can see on this graph, currently we're getting about 39% of our students for our revenues. The revenue from the states coming to about 28%, and there is about 14 and 17% that comes from the sponsor counties, and other counties 17%, makes a total of 31%. There is another 2% that we get from grants and other income that we generate through the campus. The next slide, please. I'm going to the expense analysis. Also, is well known that a very big portion of our expenses goes to wages and benefits. For this particular year, we have an increase in all of our collective bargaining agreements of 3.75%. As well as we had an increase in our health benefits of about 14%. This puts up to between 70 and 75% for all of our wages and benefits. We have tuition scholarship for all of our students that they attend for concurrent enrollment from high schools. That's 10%. We're giving back all the tuition that we receive from them as scholarships, so they come for free to us. And there is an 18% expense for contractual expenses, other expenses at the college. The next slide describes the budget. I have highlighted in yellow the approved use of fund balance. As you can see, from last year to this year, we have a reduction of about $1.1 million. Last year, we used from our fund balance $1.127 million, and this year we're going to expect to use a very small amount of about $28,000. Also, there is In order to accomplish that, we had to reduce our expenses by about 3% or over $1 million. We have an 11% decrease in non-personnel expenses, and in particular in the contractual expenses for the college. We raised our tuition by 1.7%. Our current tuition is about $5,664, and this is 9th amongst 29 community colleges in the state of New York. Our state aid has been stable since 2019, as well as the sponsor county contributions have been stable since the same year, 2019. We have worked to reduce our physical footprint. Our extension centers in Cortland, and we're selling the Cortland Extension Center. We're decommissioning from the college involvement the Ithaca Extension Center, and we're renting it to other tenants, as well as Cultivar. We're trying to get to not use it anymore. The positive net effect of all those moves would be about $600,000 for our expenses. We're reducing our expenses. Also, in the space of our Faculty Student Association, which is our auxiliaries, we're having a reduction in expenses of about 15%, which helps us too. We're going 2 slides down. The next slide. This is a table that describes the SUNY community colleges. I have took out the fashion institutes in New York City, which they're a little bit irrelevant. As you can see there in yellow, it's us, Tompkins Cortland Community College. And on the far right side, you can see the estimated 25-26 tuition. We're 9th out of 29 colleges. And the last slide that I would like to show to you is our fund balance during the years 2015 to 2025. As you can see, we started with very low fund balance. SUNY suggests that we have a fund balance, the unrestricted fund balance we should be carrying is between 5 and 15%. We started with fund balances that they were closer to 5% or even a little bit lower. And we're having right now an expected projected fund balance for the end of this fiscal year to carry of about $4,400,000, and this would be about 15% of our fund balance. In this environment, we feel that it's only the responsible thing to do to not further dip into our fund balance and try to preserve that for possible difficulties we might have or there might be in the country.
Thank you, Dennis. And just to conclude, looking forward, our focus in the upcoming year, we will have a new strategic plan. We're calling it Sustaining a Vibrant Future. And that is a 3-year plan. It's a transitional plan to help us shore up some of these, particularly on the property side that Dennis spoke to. Our plan is to continue to focus on enrollment growth. Like I said, we're seeing extraordinary numbers, but also retaining the students who start with us. We want to be certain that the credential that they're seeking is the credential that they're leaving with. We also want to align our academic and workforce programs with regional needs. We did have extensive conversation with the public and employers as we were putting together the strategic plan and received a lot of good input that will also factor into that conversation. We want to continue to strengthen our financial position, both in terms of managing our expenses, and as Dennis said, we have a 3% decrease in expenses this year, but also figuring out ways that we can continue to grow our revenue. As Dennis said, we're currently 9th among the community colleges in terms of tuition, and our students are financially challenged. And then finally, our facilities master plan. This legislature helped to fund that in part. We have secured CNS engineers. They have been working on their assessment, and that plan is due to the college's Board of Trustees in September, and I'm certain that will be another factor in our planning for the future. So with that, I want to also thank you for all of your support and how much we appreciate that and how much our students appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Are there questions or comments? Mike Sigler.
My only question is, you're saying that the enrollment is expected to go up quite a bit this year, but then if you were looking at the numbers, the projection for the tuition only increased by about 100,000. Has it just not been a realized gain yet, or?
Right, so the enrollment increase projection right now is about 1%, which sounds, and it is, very different. We made a determination to be very prudent with that decision about the projection, which occurs in the spring, due to the enormous uncertainty that's out there, both in terms of the changes that have been proposed in the Pell program, which would be a significant detriment to our students. The vast majority of our students are being supported in some way by financial aid. The other area that we're continuing to watch is just the economy and the overall ability for students to come to college. And we felt, and the board felt, that it was important to be conservative at this time.
Great, thank you.
Rich.
Thanks for the presentation. Great news about the CDL and the AMT programs. Both of those, I think, are directly addressing real needs in our community. I'm curious if you have any idea how you're getting this huge bump of 28%, and that's a lot of growth all at once. Do you have the capacity and the programming space for that many new students?
Yeah, thank you. It is extraordinary, and I am cautiously optimistic, as I say to the board every week, that, is it going to hold? I hope so, because that means from a mission standpoint that we are serving more people in this community, and that's why we exist. In terms of our ability to serve that number of students, we have flexibility, particularly with faculty in our adjunct faculty pool. We have incredibly loyal adjunct faculty who come back year after year to teach with us, and we anticipate that we'll do that again. In terms of space, we are looking to be as flexible as possible with the schedule and provide as much predictability, particularly for adults. I anticipate that there'll be a higher demand for evening classes in particular, as well as more online classes. We are seeing growth in online, both students who are exclusively online as well as those who are taking maybe 1 or 2 classes with the rest in person.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ann.
Yeah, I just, so thanks for all the great programs that you have done and that you are doing, and being flexible with the needs of the community. So I really appreciate that. And I know you're working with a lot of different partners in the community. So again, thank you for that. Just a little question about the CDL. So will you be able to, so 2 questions. What partners do you have working with that? And I guess this is just to say, because I guess I know CDL means not just tractor trailers, but they can also then use that to drive a bus, which we are always short of bus drivers for TCAT in schools. Unless I'm incorrect, feel free to correct me.
So we are partnering with TST BOCES for that program. We are serving as the host location. Their adult education department is the one that is offering the actual credential. Yeah.
Okay, great. And thank you again for doing what you're doing, your stewardship with this important learning facility, college in our community. To you and the board, this is just because it's my last year that I'll be here, but I just wanted to thank you. And also, I graduated from a 2-year SUNY Ag and Tech school, but very, very important work that you're doing for our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Greg.
Yeah, I would be echoing a number of comments that my colleagues have already made. The thing that really stood out to me was the workforce development approach, and I really want to commend you and your team for taking an active leadership role in making sure that students are leaving with employability, which is first and foremost, because many either have to borrow or stretch themselves to get through any type of higher education. Being able to leave with gainful employment and being able to attract employers to an area where there's a base of employees ready to work is really meaningful. So I appreciate that focus. And then also on the financial stewardship side, we often here don't see budgets that come in on expenses lower than previous years. And I know that was probably difficult and required a number of difficult decisions, but it just, I think it really highlights the nimble nature, the forward thinking, the creative approach that you and your team take to trying to decide what is best for the college and the community, and that's nice to see. So well done, and however we can continue to support, you guys are a great partner in education for us in our community, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mike Lane.
I have the privilege of serving this legislature as the liaison to the TC3 board. And I just really want to not only commend Amy and Dennis and their staff on the budget, but we really need to commend the people who serve on the Board of Trustees. Thanks very much, Shelley and Sue and Roxanne for being here. I know Judy Davison, the president, would be here, but for the fact that due to a fall, she's recovering from a broken bone in her foot. The work they do, committees and going to Albany and working behind the scenes on state issues having to do with community colleges is pretty darn important. And we're lucky to have them working for us. And I just wanted to mention that today, because I think it's pretty important. And when you're ready, Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull Resolution A from the consent agenda and move it.
Be happy to do that. Just want to make sure, see if there's any more questions or comments for Travis.
I have a quick one. I love the work that you all are doing at TC3, especially being a graduate myself. I do have one small beef. The distinguished alumni only goes back to 2020 on the website. You should go back a few more years so I can.
Yeah. Thank you, legislator. I will note that.
I like his confidence
Yes.
that he would be listed.
Yes. Suggest how far
Other
back?
questions or comments? Okay, then let's go to Resolution A. Mike Lane.
Yeah, I'd like to move Resolution A, authorization for a public hearing, Tompkins Cortland Community College operating budget 2025-2026. That would be, well, I so move, see if I get a second.
Travis seconds.
And the public hearing would be at our July meeting on July 17th at 5:30.
July 15th.
Did I say the wrong date?
That was a typo on my part. I'll change it to July 15th.
It's July 15th. Okay, I'm looking at the resolution. I will move it as July 15th.
Discussion on Resolution A. Ready to vote then? All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Any last words for or from our friends at TC3?
No, just thank you for all of your support. We appreciate everything that you do for us.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go back to the regular order of the agenda. We were up to legislator privilege of the floor. Are there any legislators that would like to speak? Shauna.
Thank you very much. I want to start out by saying the legislators around this table, in my opinion, I think we all do a great job responding to and being available to our constituents. We receive phone calls, emails, our address, many of our addresses are posted right on the website, right on the internet somewhere. And for the most part, we're always able and happy to help our constituents and try and make a difference in our community. Over the weekend, Saturday, I was out of town and received the CNN update to see the murder of our state representative, the Minnesota State Representative, Melissa Hartman, and her husband. I also saw the attack of Senator John Hoffman and his wife. And, you know, I think we can all be honest here and say that it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. Whenever something like this happens, it's scary for all of us. And we can all come together and state, it doesn't matter if it's Donald Trump getting shot in the ear at one of his campaign rallies or something like this. This shouldn't be happening in the United States of America. And so I also, as I was reading information and thinking about our own safety plans, one of the senators was questioned about what she thought was going on, and Senator Tina Smith out of Minnesota made some statements that I think probably ring through with all of my colleagues here. She says, "We are at a moment right now when this uptick in political violence and politically motivated attacks is definitely concerning. You probably couldn't find a senator who hasn't received some sort of death threat or certainly serious threat. So the ratcheting up of this hatred and violence is certainly concerning. I worry about myself and my family, and I worry about my colleagues. I also worry about my staff in Minnesota." So, with that said, I think we're gonna, here at the county, we have put efforts towards making our buildings feel more secure, hiring security staff, doing things that we need to do to make our patrons, the people that are visiting our buildings, more secure, more safe. And I just want to provide some kudos to the people that I think are working really hard on that. Our administration team has really been a great leader at that. Michael Steitley in our doer department, Jamie Arnold, who was hired as our security director, the sheriff's department, Sheriff Osborne, and the many other staff that have really stepped up to add their ideas and try and figure out ways to keep our employees and our staff and the people that visit our buildings safe. So I just want to commend you all and thank you for being quick to respond to my concerns. And, I think we need to be very vocal about, first off, condemning these actions of violence. It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican. And secondly, it's our job to make sure that our staff feels good and secure in their workplace. Thank you.
Amanda.
Well, we didn't plan this, but following up on that, June is Gun Violence Awareness Month, and I thought that I would share a few thoughts and recent developments on this topic. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, guns are the leading cause of death for children ages 1 through 17. Guns are the #1 way that our kids are dying. More kids are dying from guns than car accidents, cancer, or drownings. And the majority of these gun deaths were suicides and homicides. And I'm not even going to speak to the deaths to adults. I recently read an article in the New York Times titled, "Gun Deaths of Children Rose in States That Loosened Gun Laws, Study Finds," by Ronnie Karen Rabin. And the research was also reported in a number of other news outlets. The article discusses the Supreme Court's 2010 ruling in McDonald versus City of Chicago, which limited state and local governments from restrictions on guns and subjected those laws to the same scrutiny as federal laws. The ruling essentially reaffirmed that the Second Amendment applies to state and local laws. At that time, some researchers led by Dr. Jeremy Faust of Massachusetts General Brigham Hospital began a study to look at whether gun deaths changed after that 2010 ruling. The 13-year study was published last week in the journal JAMA Pediatrics. The research team, the research team found that there was a flurry of legal activity in many states after the 2010 ruling, with some moving to tighten gun restrictions under the parameters of the ruling and many others loosening them. The researchers classified states into 3 categories based on their gun laws: most permissive, permissive, and strict. They used a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention database to analyze firearm mortality trends from 1999 to 2010, before the Supreme Court ruling, and compared them with the 13-year period after that ruling. What did they find? In the states with the most permissive laws after the ruling, they found that the number of people under 18 who died from firearm injuries increased by 7,400. 7,000 more kids died each year. They were comparing to the previous year's trends. Quote, but in the 9 states with the strictest gun laws, youth firearm deaths did not increase. In 4, California, Maryland, New York, and Rhode Island, they actually dropped. What's the bottom line? Dr. Faust said states that made it easier to obtain and carry a firearm had a trade-off for that. It was the higher rate of mortality in kids. This is empirical evidence, this is data that shows that permissive gun laws lead to children's deaths. This is an epidemic. It is a public health crisis. It's an American psychosis. Compared to other peer countries like Canada, France, the UK, Australia, many others, American children are 10 times more likely to die by gun violence than those in other countries. Americans are happily trading their children's lives for their love of guns. And this is madness to me. Our federal government continues to allow this to happen. In fact, the Trump administration has been strengthening pro-gun laws and ideals. There are at least a dozen examples from just the past few months. I'll give just 3. Last year, a memorial was installed at the ATF headquarters in DC to remember and honor people who have died from gun violence. The memorial included photos of police officers, children slain in mass shootings at Sandy Hook and Parkland, as well as other victims. The Trump administration has removed this memorial and the portraits, effectively erasing the history and these people who suffered from gun violence. Under Trump's administration in April, the Justice Department canceled hundreds of grants to community organizations and local governments, including funding for gun violence prevention programs and crime victim advocacy. They stated they were doing this to protect American children. Also, in February, Trump signed an executive order that called on the Attorney General to examine quote, examine all orders, regulations, guidance, plans, international agreements, and other actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringements of the Second Amendment, and to come up with a plan to remove, negate, or undo any of these things. They said this was being done in the name of, quote, protecting the Second Amendment. Today and every day, approximately 7 children die because of a gun. Personally, I believe we need to protect our children and not our guns. Unless this country decides to choose our children over our guns, 7 children will die tomorrow, and on Thursday, and on Friday, and on Saturday, and on and on. I really hope they aren't my children, and I really hope they aren't yours. Thanks.
Rich.
Thank you, Dan. I have 2 items I wanted to just talk about briefly. One is the Special Olympics, which is coming up this weekend here in Ithaca. As many of you know, the Special Olympics came to Ithaca for a 3-year period that was to end last year, but I believe the experience was so good in our community that they signed up for 1 more year, and that's going to be this weekend. If you find the news depressing, which I do, going out to one of these events and seeing these competitors, just the joy and the sportsmanship and the striving it's just uplifting. And I encourage everybody, if you have the chance, to go to one of the events. They're all over our community this weekend. That's the good news. I have one item I'd like to raise, and I think it follows a bit on what Shauna was talking about. We recently had some attention here in Tompkins County from the U.S. Congress. There was a hearing where our governor was called to testify, and one of the representatives, Jim Jordan, who's from Ohio, decided to talk about Tompkins County and a particular matter that happened back at the end of January, beginning of February, I believe, with the an immigrant that was detained and taken by ICE in our community. And Representative Jordan, I understand outrage is fun, and he was trying to pick a fight with our governor, and our governor, frankly, wasn't that prepared on the facts. But in the process of telling a good story, Representative Jordan said some things that just were not accurate. And to Shauna's point, if you want to get people really riled up and angry and potentially violent, you do things like that where you don't give out the actual facts. And so I wish to just clarify a couple different things on what happened. We had a person detained in our jail. They'd been arrested on a charge and held in our jail for almost a year. ICE was aware the entire time and would not come and pick up this person. And in fact, this person needed some specialized medical care, and as local taxpayers, we spent a dramatic amount of money taking care of this person while ICE would not do its job. The sheriff did communicate with ICE to let them know this person was in custody, was being held, and was ready to turn this person over if ICE bothered to come down and get them. Our sheriff advised of the hearing date when this person was getting sentenced, and further advised that it was likely this person would get time served from the judge, meaning that the judge would say, you've been in jail long enough, that's what I'm going to sentence you to, so you're released. And ICE knew this. They did not come to the hearing. Afterwards, they called the sheriff and said, just hold this person and we'll come down and get him. And the sheriff said, I don't have legal authority to do that. The court, we have courts in this country, sentenced the person and released them. And this is what I find particularly galling about Representative Jordan, is that in our country, police cannot just arrest people. They cannot just detain people. There has to be probable cause and a basis to do so, such as a warrant from a court. Leaving that information out made it sound like our sheriff had acted improperly. And in fact, there was an investigation by the New York State Sheriff's Association and a very long memo detailing the law behind what happened there and concluding that, yes, our sheriff had done all things appropriate. And by the way, our sheriff got death threats as a result of this. And those were entirely unnecessary, unfair, and frankly, evil. We as elected representatives, we're not very exalted here in Tompkins County, but all elected representatives have an obligation to be careful in making these kinds of claims. As I said, I think Representative Jordan finds it fun to get up and yell at our governor and to suggest things that aren't true. But there's potentially real damage that can come from that and dangerous things that can come from that that we have to be responsible for. And I wish Representative Jordan was. Thanks for letting me go on a little bit there.
Veronica.
Thanks, Rich, for saying all that. That also leads into a little of what I'm going to talk about unplanned. Specifically the part about police cannot just arrest people. There needs to be probable cause or a warrant. Although that word cannot is interesting, they should not, but anyone can physically do anything if no one physically stops you, apparently. Earlier today, this afternoon, a prominent Jewish politician in New York City was grabbed by masked secret police and jailed after asking to see a judicial warrant for the arrest of another man that was happening right next to him. This politician is Brad Lander, the New York City comptroller. He was at the immigration court to escort defendants out of their hearings in response to numerous reports from lots of locations that ICE agents are arresting people on the way out of immigration court, which I will say from the perspective of an immigrant who's believes they're being sought by ICE, that's sort of I'm not going to swear, a danged if you do, danged if you don't situation, because you have to show up to your hearing or you're in trouble, but also you can't show up to your hearing or maybe you'll be kidnapped. I don't know what you're supposed to do. People have wondered if Brad's presence, because he's running for New York City mayor, was just a campaign thing, and there are numerous videos of this incident, and probably there would have been fewer cameras if he weren't a candidate for mayor. But he's also a birthright U.S. citizen, so I do not think he baited an arrest by ICE, because it should not be possible for a U.S. citizen to bait an arrest by ICE. They don't have jurisdiction. Brad Lander is fine now. He was released after a few hours and charges were dropped. But the person he was with was trying to not even protect, just like ask for a warrant for. It's abundantly clear in the videos. That man is still in custody. And this is also seems to be part of an escalating pattern of forcibly, not necessarily arresting, but forcibly removing politicians from situations for disagreeing with the suppression. Just last week, I think U.S. Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed from a Homeland Security hearing or press conference, something. And not that long ago, Newark Mayor Ross Baraka was arrested for allegedly trespassing in a tour of a detention facility in his own region. It is clear from all of this that ICE's actions are not about enforcing the law. They are about control and repression. Beginning 22 years ago when ICE was created, with controlling some of the most invisibilized and vulnerable people in our communities, but then broadening to wider and wider numbers of people, and now it seems accelerating to whoever gets in their way. I don't think it's a stretch to say that this is fascism here in our country. And I think we all have it's appropriate to speak up united against it. This is not law and order. This is just oppression with the tools of state violence.
Thank you. I appreciate my colleagues with all the statements and comments that they've made. I'm not going to repeat those, so I have something more positive to say. So I'll focus on that. So this is a card from Aaron at the Trumansburg Nursery School, at the new Trumansburg Nursery School at the site of Village Grove, a new affordable housing project by Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services. And I was fortunate to be able to go and speak at the ribbon cutting today. And I wanted to thank our staff who work on housing issues, who were also there. Megan McDonald, Shauna Stevenson, David West, who just returned back to our planning department. Of course, our county administrator, Corsa Comfy, was also there. And legislator Veronica Pillar was also there. And one of the reasons that the county is interfaced in this project is through our Community Housing Development Fund. And we gave a couple of grants to them to help the project. And I wanted to thank our partners in that program, Cornell University, the City of Ithaca, and the towns of Ithaca and Dryden, and also contributions we get through developers through the IDA, the Industrial Development Agency, that really help put some money into the program and then help us give those monies back out to support affordable housing. I wanted to mention part of the story that I told today When I was 3, my father passed away, and my mother became a single parent of a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And instead of continuing to live in downtown Albany, where we could walk to various things, and we were forced to leave there because we couldn't afford the rent. And so we went into affordable housing in the middle of nowhere. These were bland, so just picture bland concrete buildings between, it's hard for me to say, sorry, between the city of Albany and the suburbs. So between, nowhere, literally there was nothing, except behind us, towering over us, was a highway overpass that my mother was very afraid of us kids running around too much, because that was the only thing going on. She was afraid we would, get up there near the cars. The bus came in a couple times a day. We didn't have a car. I'll stop there, but it was pretty darn horrible. And my family almost didn't make it, I'll say that. It was really hard on us and on my mom. So fast forward to today, going to the ribbon cutting. Pardon me. So Village Grove Crescent Way project is very colorful. I had a shirt on that had not quite as vibrant colors, but various colors. And as Megan McDonald came up to me and said, "Oh, your shirt looks like all the different colors of the buildings." And the buildings look like little houses or condominiums, and they also share the characters of the neighborhood, a little bit like Greek revivals. And so they look more like houses rather than apartments. There's for rent. There's affordable for rent houses, townhouses. There's for sale affordable townhouses. There's also on the same property going to be market rate lots for sale that people can build whatever they want on that. And so really an intermixed neighborhood. There's some ponds, fields, wildflowers, sidewalks that you can walk right to the Trumansburg Village. And I talked to many residents today, and they said, "Oh yeah, we go to the village all the time." They're, I think, about a block and a half. Here's some of the things that they can walk to. Grocery stores, other stores. There's a yarn store, an auto parts store. There's medical office, restaurants, 2 ice cream stands, kind of competing on either side of Trumansburg. There's a retro bowling alley, a farmer's market, the fairgrounds with lots of activities. The school is very close. Library, very, very close to this. Village and town offices. There's a bank, bus service. I can go on, I'm probably missing some things. And as I wrote them down, I was just amazed at how much you can pack into a teeny little village. And I've lived in that area for about 40 years, so it's really become my home. But I wanted to say, and what I said there was, instead of being in the middle of nowhere, this development is in the middle of somewhere, and it's in the middle of somewhere good. And I want to remind my colleagues and everybody who's working for affordable housing just to keep that in mind. We need to keep these developments in the middle of somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Lane.
Amanda, thank you for that statement. It was well written. It was very moving. And hearing those figures about gun violence was very sobering. I think it was Charles Dickens who talked about it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And in his book, he was talking about London, which was going through a period of prosperity, and talking about Paris, which was going through a period of violence. We have good things happening in this country. In Dryden, on Saturday, we had Dairy Day, the 41st Dairy Day. We had a wonderful crowd of people come out for a splendid parade, and music and fun and activities for children, young and old. The group I was with handed out 900 American flags. Thank you, Greg, because people wanted to be able to honor the flag. Little children to senior citizens wanted the flags. There are things happening now that are a total mystery to me, and that's what's going on in the Mideast right now, and I really can't speak to that because I just don't know enough about it, but it's a scary time for all of us. But I can speak a little bit about what was going on last week and into this weekend with the No Kings demonstrations and activities all around the country, and the overreaction by the administration in Washington to some bad activities in Los Angeles. And we saw the calling up of the California National Guard, and if that wasn't enough, the calling up of a Marine unit to bring into Los Angeles, not asked for by the governor, not asked for the mayor, but simply as a show of force by a presidential administration. I remember 1970, and some of you may remember Kent State University in Ohio, where there were demonstrations going on that campus because of the incursion by the United States into Cambodia during the Vietnam War. A lot of people weren't happy about that. A lot of students weren't happy about it. And there were demonstrations on that campus. There were demonstrations on lots of campuses. Well, the governor of Ohio, Rhodes, decided that that wasn't going to stand, so he called up the Ohio National Guard and sent them into the Kent State University. Guardsmen aren't trained very well in crowd control. That's an activity generally reserved for the police. And they lined up with students across down a hillside, and they lined up, and guess what? Their loaded guns, the guns went off. 4 students were killed. And I remember Allison Krauss was one of them. Her father was interviewed later. President Nixon spoke about it and said, well, they were a bunch of bums. And her father said, my daughter was not a bum. I can still remember that, even all these years later. We shouldn't be calling guardsmen forward to be trying to act as riot police, especially in a city like Los Angeles, which has a large police department, well-trained in crowd control. That's their job. And if someone does something illegal, they ought to be arrested and they ought to be prosecuted. But if it's a group of people that are on the sidewalks, protesting, demonstrating, exercising free speech, we don't need to have the National Guard, and certainly we don't need to have the Marines, which shouldn't be ever been there, trying to quote unquote restore order. We need to always say these things are not right, and I will say tonight that that action was not right.
Is there any other legislator privilege of the floor? Okay, thank you, everybody. I have a couple of chair's appointments and then a chair's report to deliver. For chair's appointments to the Tompkins County Workforce Development Board, Suzanne Cerconi, business representative, Caitlin Hetrick, Business Representative, and Carol Miller, Business Representative. For my chair's report, I have a few items I'd like to mention. First of all, the Tompkins County Legislature will not be meeting on the first Tuesday in July. We were skipping that meeting, so the next county legislature meeting after today will be July 15th. Legislator Rich John and I joined a public reading of the U.S. Constitution on Saturday, Flag Day, outside the Tompkins County Public Library. Approximately 100 people attended. Elected officials are sworn to uphold the Constitution, and I personally found the event very meaningful. Early voting is underway for primaries in various spots in Tompkins County. County Legislature District 3, which is Bell Sherman and South Hill, has a special election to fill an empty county legislature seat for the rest of this year, and also a Democratic primary for the county legislature seat for next term, and also the Common Council Alderperson Democratic primary for the city's 3rd Ward. In Caroline and Danby, there is a Democratic primary for county legislature. In Danby, there is also a Democratic primary for town board. In Newfield, there is a Republican primary for town board. And there are Democratic primaries for Common Council Alderperson in City Wards 1 and 5. Early voting is taking place right now at the Ithaca Town Hall through this coming Sunday. And then on Election Day, which is June 24th, you can vote at your regular polling places. And in other election news, following a contest including submissions from kindergarten through high school age students in Tompkins County, the Tompkins County Board of Elections is inviting county residents to vote for their favorite I voted and future voters stickers designs. A total of 67 designs were submitted. 15 of those were chosen to be as the finalists, and now county residents can submit their votes for their favorite designs. If you just search the internet for Tompkins I voted sticker, you will find the website quite easily where you can cast your vote if you want. And speaking of the elections, whoever wins that special election for county legislature in District 3 will join this body at the end of this month. That person will be given the committee assignments that were previously held by the District 3 representative. So those committees are Facilities and Infrastructure, Government Operations, Health and Human Services, and the Downtown Facilities Special Committee. And finally, I want to mention our County Communications Director, Monica Salvage. She is receiving a Women of Distinction Award presented by New York State Senator Rachel May. Monica serves as the project director for Healing Cayuga, which focuses on overdose prevention, harm reduction, and substance use support systems. Monica has been working in local government for the past 15 years and has served on numerous boards, including Auburn area not-for-profits, the Board of Education, and the Auburn Industrial Development Agency. Monica has also co-authored several academic publications on the topic of substance abuse. Monica says, quote, "I've always tried to be a voice for those who are unable to speak for themselves and make government services accessible to all people. Every life is worth saving." So please join me in congratulating Monica for this. Monica, you're certainly welcome to say something if you'd like. I know I didn't prepare you for this. Okay. You can change your mind later. All right, we are up to reports by staff. The first one is County Administrator Corsa Akomfi.
Thank you. So the first item I have here is earlier today, we went to visit a bidder in our shelter operator evaluation process. We're very impressed with what they have. We have another visit to go to in Binghamton tomorrow. Our hope is to be able to settle on provider hopefully by mid-July and start the process of getting them on board for us to get our HHAP application in. So the time is closing in, so we are really working very fast as fast as possible to be able to get a provider in place. We're also working with the city on a joint navigation hub, or Cold Blue Navigation Hub. We've identified a location. We're in discussion with the owners of that location and also evaluating the usability of that location as well. And things are moving forward very quickly, and we hope to get that all set up or agreed to or signed up to hopefully by the end of July, so that we can get any renovation that we need to do done quickly and not firefight as we did earlier or late last year. The other item I have here is that we all introduced to our new Commissioner of Whole Health. I'm really excited about that. We are also closing in on the DSS commissioner process. We are hoping to get that also closed out hopefully by the end of next week. And our anticipation is that the candidate potentially will be introduced to the legislators at the next meeting as well. We are reviewing the job description for the Director of Highway. We intend to get that process also kick off as soon as possible. As we know, our current director will be retiring on July 25th, so we're getting the process underway. We have in place, in case we're not able to fill the position before the director retires, we have discussed the process of having an interim director in place, and that is all set up. We're also working on the minimum wage RFP. I apologize, it's delayed more than I anticipated it would take. We are at the final stages of the review process. It is with finance department right now. They are the final stage. They will post it. So we are hoping that they can get it all sorted out and get it posted by the end of the week. In the worst case scenario, next week. We have prepared a communication already. We are in the process of preparing a communication, and as soon as it's all cleared and set up, we will issue that public statement as well to let people know that it's out, and hopefully whatever the findings are will be provided to you, and then you'll make decision what to do, how to deal with that moving forward. Center of Government. Our community engagement bus stopped at Groton, Enfield, and Dryden over the last week and a half. We will continue. The next stop is in the town of Caroline and Ithaca next week. We continue to evaluate swing spaces for departments. The first department to move, which will be county administration, will be moving hopefully before mid-July. That will be followed by human resource, IT, county attorney, IT, and then assessment and board of elections. We haven't identified a location for assessment and board of election yet. We looked at some locations today. Representative from Board of Election and Assessment also viewed the location, I believe, last week, and we are making contact. Hopefully, we will be able to get a place set toward July as well. So there's a lot of time crunching. So we're looking at a space that will not require a lot of work, and some are ready to move in within a short window also. The other thing here is HALT is working with their partners undergoing their traffic study. We anticipate they providing that report over the next couple of weeks as well. And that will also, we've already provided at a department that have a footprint or citizen visitation, we have provided them with the forms. We just want to have an idea how many the number of public visiting those offices and how long they're staying in that office for, and that will help us in determining the parking spaces and how long people are actually parking to visit county offices. And all those factors will go into our determination of spaces. One thing I'll just go back to is the public engagement section has been really fruitful for us. There have been some amazing suggestions from people that we've met. In the town of Enfield, a citizen proposed having very close parking lot for parents with younger children, which I was really excited about. None of us in the process has actually thought about that. So this is a great opportunity for public input and direction. Yes, we have an architect, but they don't know everything. So people's experiences are very important. So submitting those information to us is very helpful for us in making decisions that serves the people very well. So we have created a website for the Senate government project on the county's website. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. With that, 1 second. Where are you? Come here. So, I just want to show you the website that we have set up for the Senate government project.
And while you're doing that, I'll show the cards which are available over there on the sign-in table, that if anybody wants to look at that, you can give us your input on a survey.
Thank you. So if you go to the website, the homepage, you go to the About section of the page, Senate government right at the top. It will take you to the page. I provide the summaries of the what we're doing, background and timeline. It give you the vision and goals of the project, funding that we're expecting to fund this project, the department that will be relocated. And in here, there's a PDF file that shows you the department and the square footage, and also, most importantly, community feedback survey. We are conducting a survey. You go through here, give you so many questions that we are hoping that we will get as many responses as possible. One thing I just wanted to show here is that there is a design that has been provided here to just ask the people, what do they want to see as a center of government? What is their vision, the external of this building? So you can choose between these pictures what you want to see, which ones will represent what your vision is for the center of government. So this is not the design, this is like the samples of the idea of how the external will look like. One of the things that we've talked about with HALT is that after the first public engagement session, we'll go through, they will present 3 options, and people will also be provided opportunity to comment on those 3 options, and they are going to take all the good things about the 3 options into proposing one option for to the legislature in September. So those are the process that we are going through now. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Okay, and that is my report.
So in other words, there's not much going on.
It's a lot going on.
Questions or comments for Corsa? Randy.
Yeah, of course. So when do you hope to solidify a location for the temporary shelter, Code Blue shelter? And is the RFP you're doing for a provider, is that for this upcoming season, or is it for down the road?
No, the RFP, we did an RFQ, so basically identify a provider that would develop the found site with us. We intend going out in the market to get a provider to work with us with our current arrangement, but because of the time critical nature of this, we separated the process. So right now we are looking for a partner for found site, and then we are running our current shelter processes internally through DSS, and we haven't made a decision on how we will move forward with that process. But I expect a decision coming quickly. As soon as we close down this process, we will begin evaluating what we've done since, I believe, September last year, and then thinking through how, looking forward, will provide us the best outcome.
Shauna.
Do we know when the parking study will be coming in?
Ariel is here, so Ariel, do you want to help me out? All right.
Maybe.
Okay, well, so
I thought it was
when
by
we-
September, I thought
Yes.
was the discussion.
When we spoke to Holt, I believe they have collected all the data. They are doing analysis of the data that they have collected. They are looking at also the footprint feedback from the department within the next couple of weeks so that they can provide a comprehensive report to the first downtown special committee. So my anticipation is that if not, somewhere in the mid of July or in August, we should get that report.
Okay, so that will include also people that will be visiting those departments that we're moving?
Yeah, so right now there are forms at all departments that we are asking the staff to get visitors to sign in and then time in and time out, and for us to measure how long they're spending in those departments. Ariel is here if you want to add something to it.
No, what you've said is accurate. I think the survey to the departments have been out just a little over a week, so we'd like to have it for a month. So I think it's most likely that we'll be able to compile the data that a Holt sub-consultant has been able to gather, most likely early August.
Great, thank you.
Other questions or comments for our county administrator? Okay, thank you, Corsa. Next up, County Attorney Maury Josephson.
Good evening, and our office has been extremely busy keeping the pathways smooth and traversable for all the activities that are ongoing, as well as supporting our departments in their day-to-day activities. So I do not have anything in particular to add and would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions or comments for our county attorney? Okay, thank you, Maury. Next up is the Interim Director of Finance, Drew Brayman. Hello, Drew.
Good evening. Wish I could be as eloquent as Maury was with that, but we also are very active supporting all of our departments and all the efforts. A couple highlights to share with you. I know you typically get a sales tax report. We just got that report in this morning or yesterday afternoon. So we'll compile that for your next meeting. We're working on filling a couple vacancies right now in our staffing. Also wanted to update you, we are working on the AFR and the audit. We anticipate by your next meeting, we'll have those completed and filed so we can report that out. And the highlight of my report that I'll end with is the property tax auction did kick off. As you recall, we're doing a first-year pilot as an online auction. We started with visiting 20 properties, as you may recall. I'm very happy to report, thankful to a lot of our staff, we're down to 8 properties that we're auctioning. There's one city property in addition to our 8, so you'll see 9 on the auction website if you look. 6 of them are vacant properties, so there's only 2 owner-occupied properties in the auction, which is very good news. Our properties so far, it kicked off Friday. We didn't think there'd be a lot of activity because in New York State, you have to do property auctions if they're done online over a time period, and this ends next Monday evening. The one property that is a very small vacant property already has 6 bids on it. The most popular property already has 63 bids on it. So it's been incredible. Maury may chime in here, but part of our responsibilities as they rewrote the real property tax law after the Supreme Court ruling to give the surpluses to the owners or make it available to them. One of the challenges that they gave to the counties was to get the best price out there, and there's a whole process to go through that. And I think by embarking on this online process and doing all the work we did, this is going to end up with the best result for those property owners. It does not come to our pocket, so we're doing this, just to do what's right. So I commend all of our staff. It was a lot of work, a lot of learning. Maury has been overly supportive. We've been in his office 2 or 3 times a day for the last week. A lot of last-minute questions, and we're always trying to help folks out as much as we can. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Drew? Shauna?
Does the money that we receive from the auctions, does that go into a certain reserve account? And do people have to request the money back in order to receive it?
Yes, it actually goes into a court and trust account, and we advise the county court what amount is in there. We do collect the past due taxes and the fees and the costs and the auction fees before we return over the excess, and we have to give a report on each property that breaks down taxes due and any fees, so the judge can give an opinion if they don't agree with what we've put on there. And then there is a process through the courts that they can collect theirs. And I know of at least 2 that we've paid out from recent auctions that have gone through that process successfully.
So in the past, those auctions have actually, the revenue from that has gone to our fund balance?
Yes.
And so I'm assuming that for future years, we're not going to include, okay.
No, it actually nets out because several of these properties, we will not receive the full amount of the taxes due. And on those, that will be a struggle. We'll actually have to use fund balance to make those whole, because we've already made the school districts and the municipalities whole. We've already given them what they would have done. So we're on the hook for those. But we'll see how this new process works. I'm very optimistic, and we've had a much better than I anticipated showing so far.
Mike Lane.
Drew, we're always so proud of our finance department and the efforts that they go through to reduce the number of properties we actually have to foreclose on. I don't think any of us here likes the concept of having to do that. So thank you for your efforts and for the efforts of your staff doing to help us there. The other thing is on the sales tax, we're not meeting for another month. If you have those figures and you want to send them out to us by email, that would be helpful before that.
We will do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Drew? I'll just mention, and this, I've paid a lot of attention to this process over the years, and I see it as a barometer of how, the economy and how people are doing in our community. It's one measurement. I was a little concerned earlier this year when there's like a lot of properties on the auction rolls, but it's gradually come down. And the fact that there's only 2 owner-occupied now gives me a little comfort. It's just, like I said, one indication of many that things aren't maybe as bad as we might sometimes worry about. Okay. Are there any resolutions to be added to or withdrawn from the agenda? Okay, then we're going to go to the consent agenda. If there's any resolutions that you would like pulled off, just let me know. We've already had Resolution A pulled off. So resolution.
Let's remove B and D.
B and C.
D is not on consent, so B and.
Oh, I'm sorry, just B then.
Just B, okay.
I'd like to remove C.
Okay, so there is no consent agenda except for advisory appointments. Okay. So let's do the advisory appointments before we go on. There are 3 advisory appointments. From the Government Operations Committee to the Public Information Advisory Board, Ron Van Ormer, at-large member, Carissa Parlato, at-large member, and to the Tompkins County Historical Commission, Beth Harrington, Historical Commissioner. So we still need a motion. Yep, can I get a motion then to, Rich moves, Greg seconds. Any discussion on the advisory board appointments? Okay, let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. So let's see. With your permission, I would like to go to resolutions G, H, and I. We have a staff person here, and then that would free them up before the break, so they don't have to hang around for the break. Is that acceptable to the members? Okay, so those are all under the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee. Mike, if you could go ahead and move Resolution G, please.
Happy to do that.
Thank you.
And we had moved it through BCP because it was time sensitive, this and the next two resolutions. Resolution G, resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance of the state mass transportation capital program and eligible costs of mass transportation projects described in New York State Department of Transportation Agreement K007563. And I so move.
Shauna seconds. Discussion. Frank, did you want to say anything or just answer in case we have questions? Okay, very good. Any discussion then? Let's have a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
Then I would go to Resolution H, resolution authorizing subrecipient agreement, Gadabout Transportation Services, Inc. And I so move.
Is there a second? Lee seconds. Discussion. Okay, let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
In Resolution I, resolution authorizing subrecipient agreement with Tompkins Consolidated Area Transit, TCAT, Inc. And I so move.
Is there a second? Veronica seconds. Discussion. Randy.
Yeah, I'd just like some clarification, then maybe Frank, you could elaborate on this. This is basically a change on how we are getting reimbursed for these expenses. So the county is going to be, or the partners will be expending the money up front, or TCAT will, and then the county will submit to the state for reimbursement. So it's a change.
Yes, not on the most recent resolution, but I believe the first resolution, 1335. So yes, the county will put up the money first to pay TCAT and Gadabout for state funds, and then the county will seek reimbursement from the state. Different process than previous to this year.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, let us have a vote then on Resolution I. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Frank, for sticking around. It's 7:27. This is a very convenient stopping place, so let's take a 10-minute break. See y'all in a little while. Back in session. We're up to standing and special committee reports. And we are going to start with the Public Safety Committee. Rich John, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. The Public Safety Committee has not met since our last meeting, but we'll be meeting next Tuesday, June 24th at 1 o'clock. I anticipate we'll be having a discussion about the GIVE grant from various departments, being the sheriff, probation, assigned counsel, and doer. And I'm missing something there. But anyway, I also wanted to give our jail numbers, which are at 67 with 10 board outs. This is down from 2 weeks ago. It appears about a week ago that there must have been a bunch of people finally moved to New York State that were state ready. Happy to try to answer any questions.
Questions or comments for Rich? Okay, no questions, thank you. Next up, Tompkins Intergovernmental Relations Committee, Shauna Black, Chair.
Thank you. We meet quarterly, and our next meeting, I believe, is in August. I did go to the NISEC board meeting last Monday, though, and I wanted to make sure to report back. We had 2 economists there, and some of the information that was very loud and clear was that they do not think that we are going into a recession, which I'm kind of glad that Deborah Dawson isn't here because she'd debate me on that. But some of the other information they provided is that right now the markets are all over the place, and with tariffs also being rocky, a lot of the investors are not investing. Also, a lot of people that are thinking about building are holding off because the agencies that are putting in RFPs can't really bid materials because they don't know how much the materials are going to cost. And so they expect over the next 6 months or so, until things stabilize, for there really not to be a whole lot of building. I guess the cost of plywood has supposedly gone down. But they do not expect a lot of investment in infrastructure over the next 6 months, which I thought was interesting. One of the things, we worked on 2 things. One of the things was actually asking the governor to look at different sources of energy and calling on the governor to essentially step in with the rate case and consider choices for the PSC. Whenever she does that next. The other option, there were a contingent of board members that wanted to add to the resolution to dig for more oil. That was more or less countered, so we did not add that to the resolution. And to also consider fracking here in New York. That was also not considered in the resolution. And that was the information, the resolution was sent to the governor's office. The other resolution that we did that was, or the other letter that was sent to the governor's office was, let's see here, asking, what was it? It was asking New York State prisons to accept their inmates and get them out of our local jails because everyone is having the exact same issue. And also to pay us more. I think everyone was complaining about the $100 per day. There are some local jails that actually take federal inmates, and I guess that is $400, $500 a day. And so they aren't complaining about the federal inmates because that has been a revenue source for them. But I think, for us, we chose very long time ago not to take federal inmates. And so I believe that letter was going to go off to the governor's office Wednesday.
Great, thank you. Very interesting. Questions or comments for Shauna? All right, thanks. Next up is the Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Veronica Pillar, Chair.
Thanks, Dan. We have not met since our last meeting here, but our next meeting is next Wednesday, June 25th at 3 p.m. We will discuss a more complete and streamlined process for awarding the Leslyn McBean Claiborne Strength and Diversity Award, and assuming no major issues, we'll be soliciting nominations starting in July. And for newer folks watching, the purpose of that award is to recognize individuals, community groups, nonprofit organizations, and businesses within the Tompkins County boundary that have demonstrated outstanding achievements, a sustained commitment to the pursuit of cultural diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and advocacy of basic civil rights and human rights in our community. And the goal of the award is to ultimately assist those within Tompkins County in integrating diversity and inclusion into their work for the good of the county. And not from the committee, but related, I just want to remind all of my colleagues and all the county staff that Team JEDI, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, is hosting an effective allyship training this coming Monday, June 23rd. There are 2 sessions, 9 to 11 a.m. downtown and 3 to 5 p.m. up at Whole Health. Both sessions are more than half full now. There's limited seats, but there are still seats remaining in both. So sign up. I'll be going to the afternoon one if that helps you join or avoid me as you wish. And that's all.
Questions for Veronica? Okay, thank you. Next up is Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee. Mike Lane, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. We met on June 12th and had a good meeting, as the Premier Committee always does. And a lot of what we did was work with TC3. You've heard a reprise of the presentation that we heard at our meeting. And we also had the presentation about the transportation resolutions, which we've already acted on tonight, and so that we can understand those. As you know, we have advertised for applications of folks who might want to serve on the TC3 Board of Trustees. There will be a vacancy from one of our county appointments coming up July 1. That got a lot of press. We've got front page on the Ithaca Journal, among other things. Monica, thank you for your efforts there. And we have received, the application date has now gone by. We received 13 applications, and there will be a group from the Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee that will be reviewing those and eventually making recommendations to the committee and to the full legislature for someone or more than one person who, for us to select from to represent us on that 7-year term that's coming up. Beyond that, I have 3 more resolutions.
Any questions or comments on Mike's report? Okay, then let's go ahead to the resolutions, please.
Resolution D, contingent fund appropriation, requesting use of contingent fund for up to $50,000 to expand parking access, including paid parking plan for staff located in the downtown Ithaca County Administration. And that's ID 13354.
Randy seconds.
I move it.
Thank you. Randy seconds. Discussion. Oh, did you want to say more, Mike?
No.
Discussion. Randy.
Parking is going to be an issue for a long, long time. My concern with this is that are we, by funding this, is this going to be something that we're going to have to fund long-term? Is going to be part of a contract? Or are we exposing ourselves to requiring this long-term? And is this the ultimate solution to pay for more parking?
Corso, did you want to respond?
Yes, to multiple parts of your question. I think it's going to be, there is going to be a long-time need. At the moment, we have about 500 employees in downtown Ithaca, and the total number of parking spaces we have available is under 300. So we are looking at increasing that number to about 400 just to balance what we currently do have. So it's not a negotiated, it's not going to be a negotiated item in a contract, but because we've always provided parking to staff in downtown Ithaca, but there's some degree of inequity because of some staff in some department are not provided parking at all, even though they're also in downtown Ithaca. So we are just trying to balance the playing field and provide some degree of equal access to staff in downtown Ithaca.
So basically, it's not fair the way it's set up now, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Is parking now provided to people at more senior level, and then people, or is it just first come, first serve, or how does it work now?
It's first come, first serve. I have been asked to move my car a couple of times. So everybody is treated equally in terms of what is available. But a classic example that I've always said is we hired two people in the same title, two different departments one day, both downtown. One will get parking pass, one will not, just because of the department they are working with. We feel that that is not equitable. So we are trying to provide that playing field that everybody will have some degree of access, but not individual parking spots for everyone, but we are just increasing access so that people can be treated a bit more fairly.
Ann.
Do we have a certain, a number of folks that this will be able to help?
Yes, the current number is around about 68. So we are looking at procuring about just under 80, and that will balance the equation. So we have about 80 plus employees at the Green Street, and some of them do work from home some of the days. So we are anticipating that this number will just provide us some degree of balance with what we already have available.
And one more question. I know it was mentioned at one of the Center of Government meetings, the Enfield one, in the community about there's these passes, which I hadn't heard about, that you can buy, that you can use metered parking, and you can like scratch it off, like say, possibly for an employee, it could be you scratch it off at say 8 or 9 in the morning, and it's good for a certain amount of time, and you can park it at different places. Is that something that is going to be looked at for this also?
Yeah, we can explore that, but I think that specific parking passes are for short time stays. So what we are looking at is to buy a long-term parking spaces, because
like monthly?
Monthly,
okay.
Yes. But if we explore that option, it will be more expensive. Because for us to scratch for 8 hours a day will be way significantly expensive than just buying a monthly pass.
Okay, thank you.
Shauna.
Yeah, so I recently went to Go Ithaca and signed up on their website, and essentially it's like your commitment to being more conservative with your rideshare and carpooling and all that. And one of the vouchers that I actually got in the mail was for 50% off the city parking lot for monthly. And so I just want to make sure if they're offering that to people that are signing up for Go Ithaca, that we receive some type of benefit like that too. Because it was just, I think you could sign up for it on their on the City of Ithaca website, and they give you a code to get 50% off your monthly. So.
Thank you. We will look into that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'm curious, why are we doing this mid-year? And are we really committing to 50K, or is it really 150K? Because it sounds like next year we're going to have to build into our budget the full amount. Is that right?
Yes, we'll build it into our budget next year full. By mid-year, that's why we're looking at the 50,000. But the main reason why we're trying to do this now is also in line with the relocation needs that we are moving moving tables over to the Green Street to be able to get additional spaces over there.
So people who've been able to park in this area suddenly don't have parking available?
Partially, because some people are in this area, but they have not been able to get access to parking. So we're just trying to balance the table.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on this resolution? Randy?
I guess I'll never get, parking is always going to be on my mind here. So we have a lot over on Tioga Street that is incomplete. And we easily could gain another 20 parking spaces there if we're using the land that we own. And I realize if neighborhood housing is using a facility as well as people that own their red house. And I know there's discussion that the property is going to be used for a staging area for the construction project. I'm completely against that. I think that the parking lot should be made to be parked in, and we use the facility where we're going to knock buildings down and use that for where we're going to have the staging site, if at all possible. So those are my thoughts, and I just wanted to share them.
Yeah, thank you. I think they're almost done with the construction of those new buildings. So I believe I was there on Friday. They're almost done with the wall. So we have got some of our space back. I had a conversation with Ariel. We will do some degree of clearing to make it available. What Ariel said was that was just in case it would be needed for the staging. But it depends on the degree of construction and the materials and resources that we brought to the site. So we are anticipating not doing a lot of work on that ground, just in case the constructors will need it in 2027. But we're trying to be very conservative with our resources, so we are not going to pump a lot of money in to maybe pave the whole place, but we will make it suitable for people to use it now. Because I think we lost roughly, like you said, about 20 parking lots, and with the building being complete, we are getting at least about 10 or so back. But the red house need to also be done before we can get our lot back, because they're already using it. It's not fair for us to tell them to just move their stuff that we need a parking back, so we are allowing them to use it until their rehabilitation is done.
That could take a long time.
Potentially, yes.
Yep.
Any other discussion on Resolution D? Ready to vote then? All in favor? Any opposed? 2 opposed. Did you get the count? So that's 10 to 2. Motion carries 10 to 2. Thank you.
I have Resolution E. Now, I'm moving the version that's in your red folder as amended by the BCP committee. And this is the contingent fund appropriation, reorganization of benefit staff in Human Resources Department. And I so move.
Thank you. Is there a second? Shauna seconds.
If I may,
please.
I just want to point out what the committee did was you said we would go ahead, along with this contingent, but we would encumber the money in the contingent fund for use as it becomes necessary.
Okay. Any further discussion? Resolution E. Okay, let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you, everybody.
And I have Resolution F, contingent fund appropriation, Department of Social Services, 2025 budget adjustment increase to client transportation. And I so move.
Second. Veronica seconds. Any discussion? Okay, let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you, everybody.
That's all I have.
Okay. That was a lot today for you from your committee. Thank you.
Well, we got to have something to do when we come.
Okay. Community Recovery Fund Advisory Committee, no report. Downtown Facilities Special Committee, Randy Brown, Chair.
We haven't met since our last legislature meeting, and we're not planning in July either. The projects moving forward with community outreach and any issues that come up, we'll run through the Facilities Infrastructure Committee in next week if we need to.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Randy? Okay.
Just,
yes.
just to, one thing.
Please.
And just to remind folks, I think this was said before, for legislators and people in the community, that on June, if Monica will correct me if I'm incorrect, June 24th, here at the Legislature Chambers is like a community center of government information and feedback session, in addition to the one that's coming up in Caroline. And that's, I believe, at 6 o'clock. And so here at the Chambers. And so I'll be out of town, but I'll attend virtually. So I hope as many legislators can be here as possible to hear feedback. And also, there's also a presentation about the center of government each time. So I think, I know myself, I always learn more about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are up to the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee. Lee Shurtleff, Chair.
Facilities and Infrastructure has not met since the last meeting. Our next meeting has been moved a week to Thursday, the 26th at 9 a.m. And look forward to seeing the committee there.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Lee? All right. Thank you. Next up, Government Operations Committee, Amanda Champion, Chair.
Thank you. BCP might be the premier committee, but we all know Government Operations is the best committee. We met on June 5th. A couple things to point out. We will be having some charter updates that we did not vote on, but we will vote on, I think, at our next meeting. Some things that we need to realign with some of the changes with the State Board of Elections. So if you're interested in those, we can get those to you early, or they will be coming later in the summer. Some of my thunder was stolen by the voting for the voting sticker. Please definitely do go vote. There's some great choices. And Veronica mentioned the allyship training. I will also be there at the afternoon one, so if you want to avoid us, go to the morning session. Let's see, I had a couple other things. For other conferences, we all got an email today from Taylor. If you're interested in the fall NISAC conference, seminar, whatever they call it, or the GARE conference, which is going to be here in Ithaca, which is the Government Alliance on Racial Equity. That's going to be in, I think, the third week or so of October, and you should please let the clerks know if you're interested, so they can figure out how much funding is left to pay for folks to go to these conferences. Also, if you're interested in other conferences, you need to let the clerks know, and just a reminder that you would need to come to the Government Operations Committee to get approval for those. And they're going to be, the clerks will be giving us a report in July or August about what funding has already been used and what's left. So we're waiting on that. Let's see. We talked a lot at our meeting about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We got an update to our DEI policy, and we had a lengthy discussion about that. If you're interested, please do go back and watch that discussion. I think it was pretty good. I also sent an email follow-up. That policy will be coming here for the full legislature at our July meeting a month from now. But please do go read it. If you have questions, if you have comments, concerns, we can try to start working some of those out or talk about it over email. I'm happy to have conversations with folks. I know Veronica and Annie are as well. It did go through WDIC. and numerous staff have worked on this. And it's an update. It's a policy update. It's not a new policy. Last time it was updated, I think, was in 2019. And then last thing, we also talked about, you know, as our various departments have made their work plans for this year, we've asked them all to come up with equity indicators for things that data that they'll be looking at over the year. And we realized that we haven't done that for the legislature. We, as a body, should have some equity indicators for what the work that we do. So I need to follow up with Charlene and you know, see how we would go about choosing one or two things and making those a priority for the rest of the year. We're already halfway through the year. I think that's it.
Questions or comments for the Government Operations Committee? Ann?
Yeah, thank you for all the updates, Amanda. Yeah, and I really want to urge, you know, second the urging of our colleagues. We'd really, for the DEI policy, we'd really rather not, you know, edit it on the floor. So we have, especially since we have over a month, you know, to look at that. Well, since it was sent out. So please let's if you think you might have some edits, take a look at that. And I wanted to ask you, Amanda, or maybe the clerks, so the process, if we want to go to a training, is it individually that we're going to government operations, or the clerk's going to package the stuff together? Just wondering.
I guess I would say what we've asked folks to do, or what we've decided, is that if you want to go to a NISAC conference, that is pre-approved. You don't have to ask. I mean, assuming that there's funding, but in terms of like permission to go, you don't need to ask for permission. If you want to spend conference funding on, you know, some other thing, if you want to travel.
Like GARE?
I guess, yeah.
Is GARE included in that?
I think GARE is
grant funded. My understanding is that GARE was actually grant funded, and I did not see a fee for that whenever I signed up.
I thought it was $200.
I thought there was a $200 registration and then a $300 registration.
Right, for 3 days.
So maybe we can get clarification on that?
Yeah, I think, right, that's one of those, like, it's a conference. I mean, I think I could probably speak for the GO committee and say that that would be an approved conference. We have also, in the past, approved folks going to Facing Race, so I think it's a similar thing. I think the idea of the like coming to GO and getting approval was sort of came out of our previous legislature, where people were asking to go to things and it was sort of left up to the chair, and the chair didn't know, like, should I approve this and not that? And so government operations has been the place to go if you have some like out of the norm conference that you want to go to. So I don't think folks need to come if you want to go to GARE or Facing Race or NISAC, but I think I'm saying that all correctly. Okay, Katrina's nodding.
Wasn't there also a dollar figure attached to it? If people had already spent a certain amount of money, that's when they had to come for permission, or?
Well, no, I mean, I think whatever funds we have at the beginning of the year, we've divided up equally between legislators, except for the chair. The chair got additional funding. And Shauna, because she is a board member of NISAC, there was additional funding. But so if you've already gone to a conference and spent some of your funding, you may not have funding left in your portion. And so folks who haven't used their funding yet would get first dibs on getting, funding for these conferences or something else.
Okay, if it's any different, then I'll check my emails.
I do plan on bringing a travel and training report to the July GO committee that would show the balance in the travel and training. Our travel and training was, for legislators, was different this year.
Right.
through the budgeting process. And I think Taylor emailed out asking interest for GARE and for Fall NISAC. So if you could get that interest back to us, then we'll be able to present that information to GO and determine funding availability for everything.
Yeah, and if there's something else you'd like to attend, whether it's local or not, you know, you need to let the clerks know ASAP, so we can factor that into their report and what GO, you know, can decide. So I think hopefully that is clear.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Government Operations Committee? Okay, thank you, Amanda.
Resolutions?
We
No.
don't have any.
I thought they were, oh, it's planning. Oh, sorry, peak.
Well, let's continue then. Health and Human Services Committee, Travis Brooks, Chair.
We haven't met since our last meeting. We meet tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We have quite a few presentations. Join in.
Questions or comments for Travis? Okay, thank you. Housing and Economic Development Committee, Greg Mezzi, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. We last met on June 4th here in the chambers at 3 p.m. A lot of reports and discussions, which I would encourage folks to take a look on the recording if you're interested. Our next meeting is going to be July 16th at 10 a.m., which is different from our normal first Wednesday of the month because of the 4th of July holiday, travel schedules, and other conflicts. So we'll be meeting the July 16th at 10 a.m. A couple of updates from IAED and the Chamber. The Chamber Award Celebration Ceremony, where they recognize a number of different folks, is tomorrow. Just wanted to give a shout out to the winners of the awards: the Nonprofit of the Year, Love Living at Home; Entrepreneur of the Year, Trade Design Build; Distinguished Business of the Year, Warren Real Estate; the Noel Desch Key Person of the Year is Gladys Brangman, founder of Business Leaders of Color; and the Howard Kogan Tourism Award goes to Rick Manning, who's the co-founder and emeritus executive director of Friends of Stewart Park. So congratulations to all of them for their contributions to the community. Also want to give a shout out to our conference center for attracting the New York State Economic Development Council IDA Academy, which will take place at our downtown conference center on July 29th. A number of members of our local IDA will hopefully be in attendance, as our IDA is a sponsor of that event as well. As it relates to the IDA, I chair the housing committee there, and there was a housing study that we put an RFP out after receiving responses back to the RFP, conversations with county planning department and other members of the IDA. The decision was made to postpone that till 2026, combine IDA funds and Department of Planning funds to do a more robust housing study. Our current housing study takes us through 2025, so 2026, it was timely with the IDA funds and then also some county planning funds or grant funds. It will allow us to do a more in-depth, robust look, not just focusing on demand, but focus on real solutions and suggestions for real solutions. So the county, with their new director of housing and community development in place, will take a lead on that initiative and support the IDA's efforts to try to figure out how not only to identify the problem, but to create some meaningful solution recommendations through that process. You all saw too that the IAED economic strategy was pulled from today's agenda. It's just a timing issue, as it allows our economic development partners locally and the IAED board more time for some input into that. So it's generally in its final format, with just a couple of few changes and updates that need to be made to that before it's ready for prime time. Lastly, or two things, IAED Tompkins Build had their first cohort graduation today. So congratulations to those members that successfully went through that. And I know a number of graduates have accepted apprenticeship programs with a number of the trades unions locally. So that's exciting to see that program come to fruition. And then on a not so happy note, but happy for her and her next chapter, Danielle Szabo, Danny, who many of you know, who's the Director of Workforce Innovation, has taken a position with Center State CEO, where in the role there, she'll be teaching other communities the build model. And Tompkins County is one of those counties that she'll be able to work collaboratively with. The build model is like Tompkins Build, Direct to Work, and those other types of initiatives. So sad to see her go. Want to thank her for her contribution. I know the legislature made it a priority of IAED to include workforce development as part of their charge. And Danny really single-handedly has done an excellent job bringing workforce development to the forefront of that organization. And she's leaving a lot of good transition information, and we'll be able to pick up and take it from where she left off. But I want to thank her for her contributions and wish her well in her next endeavor. Other than that, I think that's it for right now.
Questions or comments for the Housing and Economic Development Committee? Mike Sigler.
Well, I was just wondering, the Tompkins build, so that one's finishing up. They were planning another one for the fall. Is there any more info on that? I mean, I know with Danny leaving, I don't know.
There's the manufacturing cohort. There was conversation about potentially pausing that group, the direct to work, just for a brief period with a number of things with tariffs and some other issues facing the manufacturing industry. Just want to check in with partners to make sure that we're prepared to bring in new employees into organizations. But I know that Tompkins Build, the next cohort, is currently is planning to move forward as planned. I don't know the exact date for that, but that is continuing to move forward. They did hire a manager under Danny who's had some transition time that will be able to help pick up where she left off.
Cool, thanks.
Anything else for the HED committee? Okay, thank you, Greg. Next up, Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee, Ann Corman, Chair.
Thank you, Dan. Our committee met on June 9th, Monday, June 9th at 1 p.m. here at this chambers. And we had an announcement from Terry Carroll at our planning department that after some work on his part to get this moving along, we were able to get in hand our clean energy tax credits that we were waiting for from the federal government to the tune of $1,786,149. And so that's good, because we were kind of nervous about that. And as a surprise bonus, we received $43,000 in interest because the waiting for that payment, which is going to be applied to our green facilities program. And let's see what else here. We had, I'll go over the resolutions in a second. We are, through the Department of Recycling and Materials Management, we are going to have a tour of the Caswell landfill in Dryden/Freeville, and that's on July 11th at 1:30. And we'll be looking at the landfill part, talking about leachate, which is the water that runs through a landfill. And we are tasked with collecting that. We have to do something with it, which is often trucking it to a wastewater treatment center. And so there's a lot of costs associated with that. So if you're interested in that tour, I believe Amanda's collecting names to see about carpooling. Do I have that right, Amanda?
Yeah, I sent out an email, but I'm actually not sure if it went out.
I don't remember seeing.
All right,
did people
I'll send
see
it again with just a reminder, and then, yeah, if people want to carpool, we can set that up.
Okay, thank you for doing that. And let's see. think that's about it for that. So I'll go to the resolutions. We have 2 resolutions that were pulled. Resolution B, which is packet page 22, and there's a memo on packet page 23. This is for reuse services, award of contract, Finger Lakes reuse, and I'd like to move that.
Is there a second? Greg seconds.
And so the basics of this are in the resolved, the first resolved, that the county legislature, easier for some to say, authorizes the bid for reuse services for a local circular economy to be awarded to Finger Lakes Reuse for a 3-year term with 2 optional 1-year extensions at a cost not to exceed $190,000 per year. And the first year, the scope of this, of what they're going to be doing, what they're tasked to do, is in the memo on the next page. And I would like to read a little bit about that, because this is a new program. I know Randy has been particularly interested, as a few other legislators are, in creating a more circular economy for materials. And so this will support enhanced reuse infrastructure in the community, foster a local circular economy that applies to a systems approach to materials management. In a circular economy, systems are developed to ensure that materials are used for their highest value for as long as possible, with end products becoming inputs for new systems. The intent of this approach is to further activity for reducing waste generation, increase reuse and recovery, and ultimately decrease disposal now and in the future. And I'm also going to add my own 2 cents. It also creates local jobs. And 2 bids were received, and reuse was the lowest qualified bidder. So let's see if there's any questions on that or anything to add.
Randy.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this forward. I'm glad recycling material management spent quite a bit of time on this, as well as purchasing and other people. I like the targeted approach and how they went about it, and it's within their strategic plan to fulfill some of the issues of reducing waste there. And this does come out of the annual fee that everybody pays
right.
For their house, which I believe is $82 a year now. So,
Rich.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Reuse. They've really been a great partner of the county for many years now. And it isn't just reducing the waste stream. There's real economic benefits. They are a viable, busy business that ends up producing a lot of sales tax and a lot of jobs. They employ a lot of people, and they work very hard to have entry-level jobs and bring people in who've struggled to find a place in the workforce. So this is good money to spend because it's helping in lots of different ways. I'm very happy it's before us.
Any other discussion on Resolution B? We're ready to vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you.
And now I have, I'd like to move Resolution C, and this is on packet page 24, and this is entitled Supporting Deconstruction and Building Materials for Reuse, and I'd like to move that.
Travis seconds.
And I'm going to, bear with me where I'm going to read a little bit on this too, because this is, somewhat of a new topic, and or at least one that we're advancing on. So there are many benefits to deconstruction, such as waste reduction, material reuse, conservation, mitigating the release of hazardous materials into the environment, historic and architectural preservation, reducing the impact of embodied carbon emissions from the built environment, economic and workforce development. According to New York State DEC, construction and demolition debris represents 46% of all waste generated in the state. So it's good reason to address this specifically. The Tompkins County Green Building Construction and Renovation Policy states that County building projects shall follow best practices for waste reduction, including salvage and reuse, recycling, and minimization of landfill disposal. And I'm just skipping down and reading some highlights. The plan Rethinking Waste in Tompkins County from our Recycling Materials Management Department outlines a strategy to reduce waste and reuse as much material as possible. Whereas the Tompkins County Legislature, in supporting initiatives to preserve, protect, deconstruct, and reuse rather than demolish, recognizes opportunities for deconstruction and reuse businesses. Now, therefore, be it resolved on recommendation of the Peak Committee that the County Legislature hereby affirms its support of deconstruction and reuse solutions as outlined above. And so far across the state, we only know of 2 other municipalities who have passed a resolution like this, Auburn and Dryden. And part of this is to help affirm our commitment to reuse as much as possible and elevate and raise awareness around New York State and support for this endeavor.
Thank you. Further discussion, Resolution C. Ready for a vote then? All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
And we're meeting again on, our next meeting is Monday, July 14th at 1 p.m. here.
Any last thoughts for or from Peak? Okay, thank you. We're up to individual member filed resolutions, and we've already done Resolution J, so we're up to Resolution K, contingent fund appropriation. Somebody would like to move that. So I just want to make sure I have the right, several people moved this, so I just want to. Randy was one of the, okay, Randy was one of the authors. Thank you. Randy, you've moved it, and Veronica, you're seconding it? Good. Okay, you want to speak to it, Randy?
Yeah, I'll speak to it. So I'll just read it, what it is quickly. This contingent fund appropriation, it's a resolution support of continued county funding for the Finding Funds for Farms Food Access, that FFFA, that's a new one. Submitted by myself and Veronica. This is part of the food system plan that we accepted a few years ago, and we funded $40,000 in the 2024 budget, but we only expended about half of that, and then the funds will run out here in June. And what's really important about this is the #1 issue that the Food Policy Council and the Tompkins Food Future people focused on, and the results were good. What's benefiting about this is that the number of people, national number of grants that were submitted, and they were submitted from all over the county, and it was there were farmers in Teaburg, Dryden, Town of Ithaca, Freeville, Caroline, Groton, Danby, and Ulysses, all in this group, and about 25% of them were BIPOC farmers. This is hard work by people. And we're actually doing this as really an equity focus and on our local food supply. And there's good momentum going here, and I'm hoping that people will agree with this.
Other discussion? Rich?
Yeah, Randy, could you just explain, why are we doing this mid-year? I'm going to support the resolution, but it
was actually not funded in '25. It was a carryover from, frankly, we wanted to make sure that the results were there first.
So we didn't consider it in the budget cycle last year?
Not for '25, no. Okay. So this is an extension of, it was $40,000 originally in the '24 budget.
And so what we had.
It's like rollover.
Well, what got rolled over kind of was enough to get them through the half of the year, if I'm correct. And then this helps get them through the rest of the year.
The end of the year, yep.
When we have folks here, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It also provides us opportunities to do analysis and evaluation of the pilot so that we can further tailor any future iterations in partnership with with Food Policy Council.
Thanks.
one of the benefits of this too is the person is becoming the most educated person about the actual grants that are available out there for farmers. And that was a big part of the first 6 months of really identifying what's even available. And there's thousands of grants out there, literally pages and pages. So this person helps to identify the grants are actually applicable for people. And many people that came in didn't qualify. So the 21 that did qualify, there was more than that found out that there were no grants for them.
Ann.
Yeah, I just want to add that this helps streamline, as you said, the whole process for farmers to access grants. And it also helps leverage I think there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of grants out right now. We won't know what actually gets approved or what gets awarded till later on during this year or so.
Yeah, we crested, it was 800,000 as of April, right? And now we're at 940.
Of grants that are out based on this money that we seeded.
Any other discussion? Resolution K. Let's have a vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are up to the minutes of the previous meeting. Does anyone want to move the minutes of June 3rd? Mike Sigler moves. Veronica seconds. Discussion. Okay, let's vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. Is there any unfinished business? Okay, we have 2 executive sessions. In accordance with Article 7, Section 105 of the Public Officers Law, executive session is appropriate for discussion of matters which will imperil the public safety if disclosed, and the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Can I get a motion to go into executive session? Shauna moves, Veronica seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Call that unanimous? Okay, we're going into executive session. We're going to... We don't 100% know. Okay, so we're going to take a few minutes break to close down the cameras, and we will return in executive session. Okay, we are back in session, and we have a hand up in the air. Mike Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to make a motion. I would like to move to appoint Darrell Tuttle as the Tompkins County Director of Finance, effective July 7, 2025, starting at the higher rate for a management level grade 91 position and waiving the residency requirement.
Travis seconds. Discussion. Okay, let's vote then. All in favor? Any opposed? That is unanimous. Darrell, congratulations, and it's speech time.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I wanted to thank everyone. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity. Actually, this month marks my 3rd year anniversary of working for Tompkins County, in a couple different roles, my current one being the Deputy Director of Finance, and I look forward to better serving the legislature, the county, and working with my staff as I go into the new role as Director of Finance. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other business before this body? In that case, we are adjourned. Good night, everybody, and thank you.